There's some Revelator songs that I'm like, man, we got to bring those back. But we've done so many songs and albums. There's like so much to choose from that I guess we don't think about it all the time.
You need to get you a really good slide player in Nashville, and you guys need to cover a Derek Trucks song.
You know, he told me Susan wrote the song, which he was proud of. He said that with great pride, you know, the way you say nice things about your family.
From the first note with Tedeschi Trucks, they just blow you away.
Yes, we will. I wouldn't argue with anyone that says that could be my favorite song on I Am the Moon.
He, signs my ticket, and I look over at Susan. I say, Susan, would you sign it too? And she goes, oh, heck yeah.
Kevin calls me and was like, hey, man, what are you doing? I was like, nothing. He was like, Derek wants to record some tuba stuff. I said, when do you want to do it? And he was like, let's do it Wednesday.
It was Midnight Harlem. And it caught our attention, man. And we started diving deep, and we're like, okay, we got to see these guys.
What's up? Welcome to the unofficial Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 159. And I am Adam Choit. To follow the show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. On YouTube, just search Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you're already there, of course. So please be sure to subscribe, give the show likes, shares, comments, all that stuff. I am going to pass it over to David Flamm momentarily and let him steer the ship and do his thing. If you'd like to follow me, I'm at Adam Choit on Instagram and Twitter. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. I'm going to put out audio version of this episode, of course, like I do with every episode. TedeschiTrucksPodcast.com, AdamChoit.com for other stuff. This was all his idea. He wanted to steer the ship a little bit and talk to me, interview me, either doing a recap show of the shows I went to, or now what we're going to do is just have a casual conversation, I'm sure, about my TTB journey and musical journey, and we'll go on tangents, I'm sure. But I'll bring in David and, of course, a hardcore fan, David Flamm, who's been to over 100 shows now of TTB and loves the band as much as, so many of us out there do. So I'm just going to pass it over to him and end my babbling intro here. What's up, my friend?
Hey, Adam. Good evening. Good to see you. As
good
always.
To see you. Okay, so I'm.
That's right.
I have to get used to this. I'm ready to talk to you and ask how you are and where you are, but I'm gonna let you do your thing.
We're gonna find out more about you and where you're at and all that good stuff. So for everybody out there, I'm sure if you're out there listening or live or the recording, you all know Adam. He's always selfless, taking care of everybody else, making sure he's finding out how everybody else is feeling about this band that we love. And I just thought it would be fun to dive in a little bit deeper to Adam's journey with music, TTB, obviously his incredible love for the band, and the incredible podcast that he's been doing for, I guess, Adam, it's a little over 4 years now. Is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Did some of my research, went back and listened to his first introduction podcast that he did, I think April of 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And, lo and behold, here we are, 159 episodes later. So I got a lot of questions for you, Adam, but yeah, let's start with your traditional. Tell us about your upbringing, your musical journey, and what led you to love TTB like we all do.
Well, thank you for doing this. I appreciate that. And thank you for having me. I feel like I probably talked about all of this already, but it's still probably not the worst idea, and it's a fun idea too, to get it all maybe, or a lot of what I've talked about over the years on the podcast into one thing. There's something to be said for that. If someone asked me about my TTB journey and I could, we don't have time to talk, but he's like, listen to this, maybe listen to this episode, and that could be a good, condensed version of that. But I grew up on Long Island, older sister, parents, boomers, grew up in the 80s and 90s. I'm 42 now. In terms of my music influences and stuff like that, is that what we're talking about? I'm trying to think.
Tell us
Okay.
how I guess it was when your dad got you into some of the music that he was into, right? Some of what we call classic rock and all.
Well, he occasionally would play. He had a lot of records, and I remember that. And he had a Fender Jaguar guitar, but he didn't really play that much. Like when I was growing up, and thinking about it now, it's because he was working hard to raise a family and didn't have time to play. Playing guitar is actually something he's gotten more back into in his retirement. But occasionally he would play Beatles and Rolling Stones, and Billy Joel is Long Island. Jewish kid, of course, just Long Island people in general love Billy Joel. So that was a big part of my upbringing. And I just remember thinking that he was like the best artist, honestly. It was hard for me to imagine like someone thinking there was a better music than Billy Joel. And you could still kind of make that argument in a lot of ways. But I don't know. I started to play trumpet in elementary school from like 3rd grade to 7th grade ish. And then I didn't get into jazz band. This might go all over the place, just tangents, but I can talk. I can ramble about music, all kinds of music stuff.
Hey, you're a great interviewer. We're going to see how good of an interviewee you are, right?
Terrible, maybe. No, but I'm just shouting out what kind of jumps out at me about anything related to music from childhood. I played trumpet. I was first trumpet for quite a bit of the time there, but I didn't get into jazz band because I enjoyed concert band to some degree. I kind of even like practicing some of the stuff on trumpet and got decent at it. But I'd ever played in jazz band because I'm like, why would I want to play in band after school? I would rather go play sports or watch TV or do something else. I didn't think of it as something fun, but looking back, I guess that was the fun band with the guitars and the playing more popular music and rock music. And it probably would have been more fun. I should have quit concert band and got into like, jazz band. I'd rather be playing that fun stuff instead of like John Philip Sousa and concertos or all this stuff. And I appreciate all that stuff too. But that was kind of the I like the Monkees. I made my mom take me to meet Davy Jones when I was like 5 or 6 years old. So I like the Monkees. Michael Jackson was my first, maybe my first cassette. My friend's mom got me for my birthday I'm sure the year it was released. It was Bad on cassette, and that was Derek's first concert too. That's a lot of people's earliest music memories are related to Michael Jackson, which makes sense since he was the most popular person in the world, musician, performer, artist.
What album do you remember your dad spinning that really got you kind of going more towards kind of the rock stuff? Was it a Billy Joel album, a Stones album? What was it?
Well, the greatest Billy Joel greatest hits volumes 1 and 2 was probably that probably's got a fair amount of play and probably had that on cassette, CD, maybe even and record. But they had a lot of records. But I think early Stones stuff. I remember "Get Off My Cloud" and "Under My Thumb." Some of those like early Stones songs and Beatles stuff. I remember hearing a little bit of. Trying to remember, and really whatever else was somewhat popular at the time. A lot of like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder and all that stuff was kind of playing around the house even when I was younger. They did play records even if he wasn't playing a ton of guitar at the time. But people have lives.
Yeah. So what did your mom take you to a show? You said they had taken you to
Billy Joel. We went to Billy Joel concerts.
Joel?
Where else did we go? I mean, we went to some more shows maybe when I got a little older and in high school and college age and whatnot. I mean, but we'd always go somewhere. There's always something going on, sports, events, whatever,
Were you hopping down to Madison Square Garden or doing stuff out on Long Island?
I'm 100% sure we saw Billy Joel at the Nassau Coliseum. But later in college, when I was in college, I think my freshman year, we saw Eric Clapton at Madison Square Garden. So I was able to check that box up. I think that's the only time I've seen Eric Clapton live.
Yeah. Tell everybody where you went to college.
Syracuse University, upstate, central New York. People would want it. That's technically, I guess, what they call the area. That's when I started playing guitar. Which is pretty easy. Like when you're in a dorm in a residence hall and every other person two doors down has a guitar. That's not really true, but it kind of feels like that. On every floor, someone has a guitar or a bass. And I remember strumming my neighbor's bass, and I just remember learning like real, what everyone plays first is Satisfaction Riff, Come As You Are Nirvana, and Smoke on the Water.
Yep, that was the first thing I tried to learn was Smoke on the Water.
But most people quit shortly after that. But I kept going with the guitar, and I enjoyed it, and so I kind of like got back into playing music. I mean, I learned how to read music for trumpet. I can't really do that now, and then I got more into other stuff. Like throughout high school, I got more into media arts and video and other things. I wasn't playing music at the time, but I was getting more into classic rock and listening to music a little bit more. And then obviously when I got to college and whatnot, and started to just fiddle around, and it's kind of been playing for fun since, jamming, now singing a little bit.
Were you ever in a band? Did you ever play on stage? Any small clubs or any little
open mic? I did open mic with a friend a bunch of times. It's actually closed. Actually, the open mic is called the Corky's at the Cork. Well, I forget which is the bar and which is the diner, but it's kind of a historic place down the street from me in Sherman Oaks, Van Nuys, here in California in the Valley. And they had an open mic every Tuesday, and I started to get into that. And that was actually more recently, around 2018. But that place closed down. Billy Joel actually had played there on that stage too. I found out a little bit later. But just open mics and like some jams, friends and hanging out. Like nothing ever formal with a band or anything. Though that
was too tough on me. Like I said, Smoke on the Water. I tried that and played some guitar. I've mentioned before on your show, one of my oldest and best buddies has been in bands his whole life and everything, and I just kind of hang with them and do stuff. But he would try to teach me some guitar, and I was like, man, I'm not tough enough. My fingers, I got to toughen up. It's not easy.
I feel like I need more hours in a day now to because I would be open to doing something more formal and organized, even if it's only semi-regular. I don't know, just even if it's just a jam session or something. I would be down. But I remember in college, I kind of stopped playing video games for the most part after Super Nintendo, Genesis, somewhere around there. I'm like, there's too many buttons on. It takes too long to get good at video games, so I have a hard time wanting to take the time to do that. So my friends and roommates would just be sitting on the couch playing video games, and I would have my electric guitar not plugged in, and I would just be strumming or learning scales or chords or whatever. I would just be for I guess hours, whatever. So that's kind of where I feel like I learned a lot of guitars, just sitting there and just strumming and fiddling on an electric guitar that's not plugged in, just sitting on the couch.
Yeah. Did you? I know you have a big love for the Stones. So did you play any Stones music? Have you seen them live? What's your?
I've seen the Stones live. I've seen them twice. I saw them in Pittsburgh when I was in college. I think that was 2020 or not 2020. That must have been 2003. I think I saw the Stones in Pittsburgh, whatever the arena, Mellon Arena, Civic Arena, wherever the Penguins had played at the time. Do they have a new arena? I hope they have a new arena. That place I think was fairly old, but I saw them there, and it was a good show, great show. And then I saw them at the Rose Bowl in LA. That was not too long ago. That might have been 3 or 4 years ago. I think those are the only two times I've seen the Stones. But yeah, they were probably my favorite band throughout college, and probably my favorite band up until Tedeschi Trucks Band. Just because, I mean, I talked about this, is that I feel like there's no mood that a Stones song won't be appropriate for, whether I'm in a really dark place, there's definitely Stones songs that are great for that. Or whether you're, because even like TTB, that's kind of like a blues band at heart and a kind of a party band at heart as well. So that kind of, from deep sadness to extreme joy, I think both of those bands cover it all with the kind of a rock and roll blues, classic rock kind of bass, if that makes sense. BASE.
Yeah. So we know Mike loves the Stones. Have you ever had a chance to chat with him at all about the Stones and his kind of love? And because I think he's probably the big influence for the covers of the Stones that they do, right?
Right. No, that's a good conversation starter with him. I'm going to keep that in mind. I haven't really had a chance to interact with with him too much. I think he did say, I could be imagining this, but we have said hello and good job and just in passing. And I think he said, "Hey, Choit" one time. Maybe I imagined that in my head, but I think I heard him say that.
That
So
sounds like something. That sounds like a quick Mike little ism there for you.
I think, yeah, he's elusive, evasive, an enigma, and that comes across in his stage presence and style and all of that too, which is cool. Yeah, I would definitely be happy to talk Stones with him online, offline, whatever. And, I think, I'm always excited about all the Stones songs that they do. And I have a friend that's has his favorite band is also the Rolling Stones. So of course, every time TTB plays a cover, I'm sending him that. I try to cater my TTB links and suggestions. I try to keep in mind what the other person is into as far as their music, and that's something I've talked about too. Like I got friends and relatives who like Fish and more into the jam scene, so I'll send them Passaquan. And then I got people who love female vocalists, so you maybe send them It Ain't Fair, something more Susan centric. So there's and the guitar heads have your Derek stuff. So
yeah, what talk a little bit about how you came to be a big Tedeschi Trucks fan, where kind of things morphed and how, I know some people say they were deadheads. I was never a deadhead. I think we've talked about that before.
Right.
I kind of came through the Allman Brothers channel and stuff, and other people, happens all different ways. How did that kind of come to you? Were you already out in California before you found them?
Yeah, Tedeschi. I'm going to correct you.
Okay. What did I say?
Tedeschi. People do say
it is Tedeschi Trucks Band. Yes,
it's funny.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's funny because Chris Stapleton said Tedeschi also when he introduced them recently and at the last show. I don't think she gets too upset by it, and I can see why people make that mistake. I guess it's tough. It's Italian. I don't speak Italian. I speak Spanish a little bit. I don't, but whatever. I do notice when people say Tedeschi.
Wow. Maybe it's my nerves trying to be the interviewer here.
I'm
would think after 100+ shows, I might know Susan's name by now. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I've actually
work on that.
No, it's funny because I've never heard you say it like that. That's why it's funny.
I'm a much better guest than a host.
No, you're doing great. This is fun. This is easy in a way too. It's less for me to just reacting, but I think I've told this before, but basically, I was playing guitar a little bit at the time through college into my adulthood, and just for fun as a hobby and whatever, and listening to blues and classic rock. Obviously, I love all that stuff, and I started to fiddle with slide guitar a little bit at the time, or just be more interested. And I don't remember who I was even listening to. I was like all the Hawaiian guys and just all the OG blues guys, I just started to learn what it was because I'd heard the sound on a lot of some of the Mick Taylor, Stones stuff, Silver Train and songs like that. All the, you get a lot of slide guitar and the Stones, but I never really knew what it was and what it was all about. I just knew I liked the sound. And then I was talking to my dad and he's like, "You should check out this Derek Trucks guy." And I had heard the name. Of course, I knew the Allman Brothers. And I knew all the hits. But I never really done the deep dive, even being a blues classic rock fan. There's a few people I've talked to about this on the podcast who have similar journey and experience, but I never did the deep dive beyond the hits and stuff like that. And then I started checking. I think I just started watching some YouTube videos of them and oh, this sounds cool. I like this. And then I saw them at this King of the Blues shredding competition in LA on the Sunset Strip at the House of Blues, which doesn't exist there anymore. And I think it was Tedeschi. Ask Tammy Goldsmith. She was there too. But I think it was Tedeschi Trucks full. I didn't know her at the time, but I think it was just Tedeschi, just an early version of Tedeschi Trucks. I think it was December or September of 2010. But I don't remember much. I remember Mike was there and Mark, and I'm pretty sure Falcon, 2 drummer. I think it was Tedeschi Trucks Band, but they played I've Got a Feeling, the Beatles song. I kind of remember that sticking out, that stands out, something I remember. And I think pretty much from that point on, I just got more and more into the band with each passing day, month, year, YouTube deep dive and archive.org, and starting to buy the albums. And then I have I have it right here. September 2nd, 2010 ? Guitar competition. I remember Pinecone Fletcher was the name of the guitar player. He played a cigar box guitar slide. I don't even think it was 6 strings, and he won the competition. And he was good. I like that. And Joe Bonamassa actually was one of the judges there. I'm pretty sure that was. I'm not imagining this. It's not that long ago. I'm sure there's information. Once in a while, I do a Google deep dive on it. But my second show was Dana Point Doheny Blues Festival on the beach. And I think that one, I remember Midnight in Harlem being something that stood out at me. I guess I have these moments sometimes from these shows or certain venues that stand out at me, maybe either a song or something about the venue. But hearing that on the beach and, seeing the ocean, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know where you want to go from here.
I think, hearing them live, right? It's so much more than the album, right? It's just such a different experience, at least for me, the live experience for TTB, versus the albums.
I would almost, versus
even just live junkie for them.
Versus even just listening to a live version of a song. If someone's like new to the band, I would almost be like, and they never heard him before, I would almost go to the show. Don't even listen to anything. Just go to the show. And then when you go back and you listen to the live stuff on the audio and then the YouTube and the albums, you appreciate it on a different level. And I do. I go back and I listen to the studio recordings and I appreciate them on a different level. In some ways, it's like listening to the skeleton, the bare bones, the essentials of the song, what it was before they took it on the road and expanded it. Kind of like the way I described the Fireside or sessions or the Fireside tour with the scaled back, 6, 7, 8 person thing where, Derek and the drum parts or whatever, they're all trying to figure out what is the essence of, the song we're trying to play.
Yeah. How is it, trimmed down without the horns and maybe some of the early development, right, of the song and how that kind of came to be to get some of that is really cool. How about some of the venues that you've seen them at? What stood out from some of the different venues? Just being a cool venue, different crowds at different places, right? You get a different vibe, going to different places. And sometimes it's fun to see them in your hometown. Sometimes it's fun to be out and about, right? And experience people in different places. What comes to mind in that regard?
Well, I could kind of just go down the list a little bit of some of the venues.
Far away.
But I guess my third show, assuming what I have is correct, September 5th, 2012, was with BB King, and it was that show where John Mayer and BB King had the encore with Derek at the Hollywood Bowl. So that was pretty special to be at that show. You were at
that show? That's oh my God, I love watching that video.
Yeah, that's a fun. In my head, I have a top 10 iconic TTB, Derek and Susan moments, and that's one of the ones that I guess all the whatever the YouTube videos are of them that have the highest views are kind of those iconic moments. The Midnight in Harlem, the Crossroads, that one. There's a few others for sure with the band. Young Derek playing Layla, that's another iconic one. And TTB, Derek, Susan, lore in my mind. And then for all of us fans, I wrote that down. I went back to Doheny in 2013. I don't remember that. I have to look at the set list. I remember I saw the Black Crows at Doheny also, but I don't think that was the same year as TTB. I think they both were headliners.
Different shows because they did tour. They did tour together around that time.
Maybe they were both there that weekend. I think it was. I have to look into that one, but Doheny's a cool place. Brooklyn Bowl, Las Vegas. I see here 2014. My biggest regret was not going to all three. There was 3 shows. I only went to the second one. because I definitely was. Yeah, that was a regret. It was general admission, bars on both sides, bowling alley attached, fun vibe, great energy, great set. We're there with a group, and it was fun. That's what I wrote. I don't know when I wrote that, but probably shortly after. That was fun shows for sure.
Yeah, and well, I know you've been to you've come to Atlanta. We got to hang out, and I got to meet your dad when y'all came to the Fox, and you've been to, of course, the Beacon. What else? Where else have you
I
been?
like the Fox. Something about, I don't know. It has a different. It seemed like what's the Fox size of the Fox compared to something like the Beacons? It's significant.
It's about twice the size. Yeah,
Right.
Fox holds about 5,000, I think, and the Beacons a little over 2,000, I think. It's about twice the size.
Right. Yeah. Something about that's yeah, I just remember like the street and whatever, and there was just a fun vibe there too, and yeah, just a little bit more intimate, almost like a hometown vibe, a little bit in the South, and like a lot of the band is obviously from that area and that region, and all the Allman Brothers history. So that's definitely up there for all the LA venues are probably not on the top of my list for any. Although I do like the Greek Theater in a lot of ways. And I like that they have screens. I was talking about that. I do like the big screens, for
now there's two Greek theaters.
There's a Greek theater in Berkeley. I'm talking about the one in LA.
And the one in LA is indoor?
No, it's outdoors.
They're both outdoor?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know we got to see the video where they did the stream of the one, right? That was in Berkeley.
Right. That was the Berkeley one.
Really looked like a cool venue. That really looked cool.
Yeah, that one is a Greek theater. It really looks like a Greek theater. Maybe this one does too, but this it's cool. It's in a cool setting in Griffith Park and in the park itself, up a hill, and it's a good place. Like the Hollywood Bowl and the Greek Theater, they do have a nice kind of outdoorsy, even like spiritually nature-y kind of like vibe to it to some degree. There's a lot of history especially the Hollywood Bowl, I think. I haven't done a deep dive on the Greek theater's history, but like, the Doors have played Hollywood Bowl, probably, the Pope, probably, all the big ones.
The Beatles, right? The Beatles were at Hollywood Bowl, right?
I think so.
I think they were. I think so.
I think so.
I believe so. What about seeing them with your dad? You've seen a few shows with him, right?
Yeah.
What's that experience like? Seeing that together.
Well, I keep saying that 90% of the people I've seen a Tedeschi Trucks Band show with, I've seen more than one Tedeschi Trucks Band show with. So that just goes to, tell how awesome the band is. But yeah, that was a special trip going down with my dad to see the Fox shows. And we went down to Macon and saw the Essentials, the H&H and Capricorn and the Big House, of course. But yeah, I need to go. I want to go back there because I feel like I didn't. You almost have to like take more time looking at every single exhibit in there to really, like, there's so many just even like documents that are probably worth reading and looking closer at. But
yeah,
that's a special place. Like, I love how they designed it with the downstairs is more or less a museum and the upstairs is more or less kind of untouched from when they were living there, which is kind of strange, but in a good way, like,
yeah, a little restored and all, but yeah, they got a lot of great memorabilia in there. It's really, really cool what they've what they've done. Yeah, seeing Derek in the tiny clubs. Yeah, I didn't realize that, but down the road, I guess Susan actually lived in Atlanta for a while. She was actually in Atlanta, and I believe. And you may be sure. I think that the first time she ever saw Derek play was at Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta. The fellow she was dating at the time was a guitar player and said, "Hey, we need to go check out Derek Trucks." And that I heard was in Atlanta at Smith's Old Bar was the first time she actually saw Derek play live. I don't know exactly. Maybe Kirk might know some of that story. But that's what I've heard through the grapevine. I have not spoken to anyone in the band about that, but I thought that was pretty cool. Didn't realize that she spent a little bit of time. I don't know, maybe that was in the 90s that she was in Atlanta for a little while, and that's when I guess the Derek Trucks band came through to Smith's Old Bar. And
that'd be an interesting thing to chart, to map, to write down, to ask every band member when did they first meet every other band member in the band. Because it did come up on when I talked to Gabe. He mentioned that I think the first time he heard Susan was at Jones Beach, a Jones Beach show in New York, like early 2000s or something like that. And he's like, "What is that voice?" So that's an interesting question. When did the band members all literally the first time? Maybe they don't even remember. Who the hell knows? It's possible too.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, kind of always wondered. Haven't. Yep, there it is. What?
They met at Smith Old Bar, says Kirka.
And that's still here in Atlanta. Smith's Old Bar is still here. They actually have they actually have two music rooms, a very small one downstairs, and there's another one upstairs where but again, it's not really big acts that are in there, but it's, part of the live music scene here in Atlanta, along with a couple other great clubs.
Kirk West was telling the story one night at the Big House, says Kirka. I'll put up the comments and you could read them if you want.
Nice. No, that's great.
we can do that just because, again, people might be listening to this too.
Yeah, reading that. Yeah. Well, hey, appreciate Kirk chiming in. Yeah. Any other tidbits you got? Share with us. Did you and your dad see a show at the Beacon together? Did y'all?
Yeah, at least 2 or 3.
He got to do the Beacon.
He was at the first show after the end of the lockdowns and all that stuff in October. I think we were at the first one together in October 2021. And
the band is certainly, as we know, aware of your podcast. I know you've been fortunate to have two of the members of the band on so far. I know you're probably working on trying to get some more. But what kind of feedback and stuff have you heard from any of the members about the great work you've been doing?
All positive. Gabe expressed that, and I'm pretty sure Kebby did as well, and thanked me for what I'm doing, and Derek and Susan have, and Falcon, and it's all positive. There hasn't been any negative, and that's great. I feel like I do have, maybe relationships is not the right word, or even friendships is the right word, levels of acquaintanceships with the band members to different degrees. And I was talking about this, or thinking about this the other day, is that, like, that makes sense. Like, with any group of people, it's going to make sense that you're going to be a little bit closer with some, compared to others in the band or whatever, or in any group. But all the feedback has been, positive for the most part. And Bradley Strickland, who works for the band, of course, doing the photo and the video and even stuff beyond that, of course, has expressed appreciation on behalf of the band, as have crew members, Bobby and all that. And I did have Tim Lefebvre on the show, not when he was in the band, but former member, of course. And I'm thinking about others who have played with TTB, other artists, and Carrie Frank, of course, who was filling in for Kofi for a big chunk of touring, or a decent chunk of touring. I think he was he played a handful of shows with TTB.
He played a number of shows. He played a number of shows with them.
He played enough for me to want to reach out to him.
Yeah. I remember them even bringing him back a couple of times where he sat in, I think, with Gabe or something, when they were, I guess, happened to be in the same spot or something. And I guess they had Tim sit in the other night as well, huh? That was kind of,
that was awesome.
Cool, huh?
Yeah. No, that was not expected, but that was great. Yeah, of course.
You were there. There was a number of sit-ins, weren't there?
Yeah, Caesar from Los Lobos and David Hidalgo came out for that final Greek theater show. The Sunday night show that felt like a Saturday night to me.
Well, you had 3 shows, right?
LA, San Diego, and LA.
And how long had it been since you'd seen them? Been a little while, hadn't it?
I guess it had been since, I don't think I saw them in 2023. I think it was the 2022. No, I saw, oh my God. I saw them at the Beacon this year. And then but before that, it was 2022.
22. Yeah. Well, tell us how you got the crazy idea to do the podcast and how you started. I went back. And maybe some people know or don't know. I've been fortunate to be a guest a few times on your show, and I actually went back and listened to your intro, your first podcast, your solo podcast, kind of introduction, talking about things, and that was right at the beginning of the pandemic. So, tell us about how you were bold enough to just kind of take the step forward and do this.
What the hell did I say on that intro? From what I understand,
a few of the things you've commented on tonight. So you're you're consistent. You are. It's
right.
really funny because I listened to that, and I'm hearing some of the same things. I wanted to also know about how you selected your intro and outro music. You talked a little bit about that. So if for people that haven't done that, share that. You should be proud. Your sincerity comes through.
There you go. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Hopefully he's talking about you because I'm not sincere at all,
Where do I start? Well, I kind of it's something I thought about for a while up to that point.
Did COVID have something to do with like that you were boxed in or whatever? And did that have something to do with it, or you were thinking about it before that?
Thinking about it before that, and I think that might have been the final nudge. But I actually had talked to a few podcast networks about maybe working together about doing something, but that never seemed to materialize. And I have a lot of other things going on in my life. But at some point, I was like, all right, I want to just do this and launch this because I had already been, as we probably were already discussing at the time, like this band, talking about this band. Online, offline, thinking about them, listening to music, like so much of my life, I guess revolves isn't too strong of a word around Tedeschi Trucks Band to some degree, but so I'm like, and that's how a lot of podcasts and shows do start. Just like we were already basically creating content, so now let's just hit record. So it was a little bit of that kind of thing going on. Other than that, I think that's, I don't know. I think that's pretty much how it came together. Now, the challenging thing was there were no shows going on during that year. So, I guess I don't know. I didn't think at the time, and maybe this was reflected in the introduction, that it would be so heavy on doing recaps of shows. I don't know if that's something I had mentioned in the introduction, or maybe I did or didn't, but I know that of course there were no shows or not a lot of stuff going on in 2020 and into next year. So it definitely was challenging to some degree to figure out what kind of content that I would create. But since I was starting fresh, all I needed to do was just like look at all the music the band has released, talk about it, look at all the members in the band, talk about it. So I remember I did episode. I mean, I don't know, I could pull all this stuff up, but like, episode about all their Bob Dylan influences and their Beatles influences and who they've influenced. So I don't know, there was no shortage of stuff, and start to bring on guests and people who have some things, any connection to the band, whether they're photographer, poster, artist, expert level fans,
crazy fans.
Right, exactly. Just because there's no shows going on, they have enough of a body of work from their solo careers, Susan and Derek, and this band has had enough body of work in 2020 for me to run my mouth nonstop, even with no shows going on. That's why you were asking me before, like, did you think you would be doing this many episodes? And I just kind of like blurted out, like, it would take Derek and Susan to not be putting out any music in any capacity, any new stuff, solo together, other acts, doing anything. Like, they would have to be like doing nothing for years for me to be like, all right, I guess maybe there's not much to talk about with Tedeschi or Trucks. But I think as long as they could play and sing and make music and are sharing it with the public, and I think there's going to always be plenty of stuff to talk about related to this band, because everything they do and everything those two do and the band does is, I think, great. So I'm going to talk about it as long as they're making stuff.
Absolutely. Tell us how you selected the music that you used for the intro and the outro. And where that comes from. I know a little bit about that, but where does that version and everything come from, if you recall that from 4 years ago plus when you selected it?
I think I was just looking for the Bound for Glory sort of guitar and intro thing. Well, I think I just figured I'm gonna not, just for safety or whatever, better to use a live version of a song than a studio recording for licensing and whatever, all that legal stuff. And I got permission from the band and blessing, like, to do the podcast and to use their font and some of their fonts. And what was the other thing? The
Anything about
and the intro. I think I asked about the intro as well, but it wasn't really, I didn't really think that deeply about it. I just was playing some live stuff, and I'm just like, oh, maybe this guitar, it kind of is a good Bound for Glory. Maybe thematically it's good also with the podcast thing. And I'm too lazy to change it more than anything. But it's from Japan. I want to say 2019 or 2018, or I don't know when.
Something about a phone ringtone or something? Recall anything about that?
Was it my ringtone? Is that why I had it on my phone? I had it on my phone. It was my ringtone. Maybe that's what it was. Is that what I said on the podcast?
You had said something about that originally. It was that was the idea or something, and it didn't quite. I don't know, something about it, and then you, I guess, came up with, when you brought this up, you're like, hey, I've got a nice piece here, and I've found the perfect spot for it.
Yeah, it might have been something like a ringtone or something I had downloaded or whatever, like something that was handy, and it was current. It was current at the time. It was a recording from probably late 2019, so maybe it wasn't too old. So it was kind of like on my radar. Those shows still, were semi-current, so that's probably why. I
find it very iconic. So as we talked offline, we're on, what are we on? Episode 159. 159. I think I've listened to 155 of them through, at different times. A lot of them I try to get on live, but if I can't, go back and listen to them. But I got a question. You had asked people to send me questions, right? And I did get a question from a previous guest of yours, Mariah, who's also done some recordings for us, did a couple of recordings for us on this leg, on the West Coast leg.
Christopher, yeah, her husband.
And it's pretty funny that she couldn't listen tonight because she's seeing the Rolling Stones tonight.
Nice.
So isn't that all just
there you go.
That's pretty interesting. But her question was, Adam, when you first started the podcast, did you know you'd be helping fans connect and forge friendships?
No, that's the thing. That's probably the best thing. Probably the best thing about the show, and the most unexpected thing. Something I didn't really think about too deeply or about. Yeah, so the answer is no. But I have mentioned that recently. That's something that I guess I'm proud of, for sure. I think it's cool. It's something that I've always been kind of all about in different areas of my life, is bringing people together. That's something that I've been known to be about, I suppose. Well, even when I'm not doing it on purpose, I guess.
Well, hey, some of the best things happen by happenstance, I guess. The extra benefits that we get. But I know that I was on one doing a recap, and it was myself from Atlanta. We had Larry from South Carolina. And oh gosh, I'm forgetting his name. He's going to kill me. From Florida, who's originally from Toledo. And the three of us, and you bring different people on, who's been to this show. And because we travel, you're not just getting local people to certain shows. And then, when we go to a show, we're always communicating, hey, are you going to be there? And, we have drinks, have a meal, hang out before, after the show. Sometimes we're sitting, right next to each other. You just never know. So you've definitely, through this, have brought a lot of people joy, obviously, about the band, but just friendships from the love of the music has been incredible. So it's a great, I guess, I hate to say byproduct, but it's been incredible.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that, and that means so much to me that's a thing that's happening. And it's like I see it happening when people are connecting in real time on like the podcast, and sometimes I have to stop them from doxing themselves and give me, oh, hit me, here's my, people sharing, maybe, literally connecting on the show and not realizing that, but that's so cool that it happens that organically,
Yeah, I think you had on the other day, Matt Redmond, and I said,
Right.
and he had mentioned he was at the St. Augustine. Ann and I were at St. Augustine. I think I saw him, might have said a quick hello, but didn't really know, we didn't really know who each other
Right.
was, you know. And then
Right.
I'm seeing him on the podcast. I'm like, you know, you dummy, you should have engaged a little bit more, you know.
Well, that
It's
is
fun.
kind of, yeah, that is kind of, I mean, now I guess it's kind of become an outrageous goal is to meet every single hardcore fan of this band. Like, there's no reason why I can't meet every person who's been to, I don't know, like 25 plus shows, or who's listening to the band for hours every day, like those types of fans. Like, someone, by whatever tangible metric you can think of that makes one a hardcore Tedeschi Trucks Band fan, I'm gonna try to like talk to that person, I think, or anyone who has like a deep connection to the band or a connection to the band in some regard. But like, everyone seems to share the same passion. Like, that's something that I noticed, whether I'm talking to a fan, a crew member, someone in the band, we all kind of like talk the same way about the music. It's kind of funny in a way. Like, even I think about talking to Kebby, like he how like, I don't remember what part of the interview it was, but he was like, yeah, I get to play Tedeschi Trucks Band music and do blah 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 blah. Like he realizes, like, he, you know, doesn't take it for granted. Like, and you can see that with the band, they don't take any moment for granted. And there's no mailing it in, as I always keep repeating after, you know, show after show. They don't, you know, there's no mailing it in. There's no moments of letdown, you know, at all during their shows.
I feel the same. I mean, I hear some people comment. I have never experienced what I thought was an off night. You know, to me, it's always, the show always moves me, right? It might not be, I like what Jeff Fink said the other day. He goes, you know, you might not get the song you want, but you get the songs that you need, right? I mean, it's just, you know, so I'm at the point where I don't have, you know, I mean, of course I have a few, you know, favorites, covers, originals, whatever, but I try so hard to not have any perceived, you know, notion about what I want to hear tonight, or what's, you know, what is it going to be. The one thing I know is if I go to multiple runs, I'm going to hear different songs every night, you know. And friends that we have that aren't blessed to be addicted to this band can't understand that you can go 3 nights in a row and not hear the same song. They don't, you know, they relate to the Stones or Aerosmith or Billy Joel, where they're playing the same 20 songs
Essentially,
every night, you know,
on their,
so,
yeah, on their
right.
tour, on their
It's hard to
current
follow
tour.
those people around, you know, but we're
I'll
blessed
take,
that we get that.
yeah, I'll take it another step further. There's only a handful, like, you could correct me if I'm wrong. There's only a handful of bands in this genre-ish world that do have that large of a catalog of, you know, that things they play, be it covers or originals, that play that much variety over short periods of times or over the course of a tour. But what they don't have is the talent that Tedeschi Trucks Band has. They do not have the virtuosity. They do not have the ability to move people, I don't think, in a way that Tedeschi Trucks Band, you know, moves the great music fans and whatnot. And you could see it by all the musicians who react to, you know, how they react when they see Tedeschi, when they play with Tedeschi Trucks Band. And I always talk about how, like, people like me and you and fans that are watching every goddamn video that comes out on YouTube and going through all the recordings, like, we're more in tune with the professionals are, who only get a chance to play with TTB once in a while. That's why you see these, like, I feel like, expressions from Los Lobos members and Trey Anastasio and John Mayer and all these artists, like, when they're playing with Derek and Susan, like, it's like, holy shit. And we're all like, duh.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, they're you know, they're the best because not only do they have the diversity of shows from night to night, they're the best at doing that too, in terms of the quality of the diversity of the songs.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I always find interesting is covers, right? You talk about covers, and, you know, you're like, but we've talked about every time they do a cover, it's evolved, and to me ruins the original for me. I always dig the TTB version. What they do to the songs, just to me, it almost even doesn't become like a cover anymore. It's part of what they do, and we hear it, every, whether it's every 4 or 5 shows, they're fitting in this one or that one, and I'm just always in awe of where they take the cover versions that they do. Right.
I follow.
That.
No, I follow, and I agree. But I still am eating up like done somebody wrong by the Allman Brothers, and Why Does Love Gotta Be So Sad? Some of those rare live Derek and the Dominoes versions are out there. I'm still eating up that stuff. Like I
love it. I love it. Every one of them. I mean, for me back, gosh, I guess maybe 2019 or whatever, they started playing Tell the Truth off of the Derek and the Dominoes, which my buddy who I referenced, that's a song they covered in his band going all the way back to high school. So it was just a song that I loved, knew all of it, and they started playing it, and I missed it. I mean, I literally was probably at 20 shows around after they started it, and I kept missing it and missing it and missing it. And then finally we got it in Charleston, South Carolina. And I just exploded. I was just couldn't believe I was finally getting to hear that live and their version. Because of course I had seen some videos and everything, but again, to be there and feel it, it was just, it was amazing to hear that one. You're talking about the virtuosity of all the members, right? Incredible. And each time someone does, Kofi pass, some people move on, they still get incredible talent. And as you said, we're kind of in the I don't know,
golden era,
the golden era of
age.
And you talk about, well, it's a 12-piece band, but who else has 5 people that can sing lead on a song? 5 people that can sing lead on a song is amazing to me. And I think a few shows, maybe you'll hear 4 songs in a row with a different lead singer.
Right.
It's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible, I think. I just, I'm like, I love this band. Everything they do. It's interesting hearing some of the new mashups that they kind of did that you heard, putting Do I Look Worried and Shame together. That was kind of a cool thing. I got to watch some of the videos of that. A couple other things about how songs evolve, right? You talked on a couple of your shows, if you go back and listen to a live version of Made Up Mind, from 2018 or something like that, and now you hear it now, it just continues to evolve, right? The songs, they just keep the songs keep growing, right? You've talked about that.
But some bands could tinker with their songs, and it could like, for example, if I was to go see the Stones again, I would prefer to take the time machine back to 1973 or something like that. So I think the sounds of the band does evolve, but I think somehow TTB gets, like, I guess, better. But when I say that, it almost sounds insulting to what they've done before, which is totally not. Like, again, you're going from 10 out of 10 to something else out of 11 out of 10, 12 out of 10. That's we're starting at 10 out of 10, and then we're growing from there.
Yeah. Every time you have somebody on your show, you see people posting on Facebook. Whether they were in St. Louis, Dubuque, Iowa, wherever, they're like, oh my God, it's the best I've ever seen them. I've seen them 5 times. I've seen them 20 times. They were, it's always, what was the best show? The last one you were at. Right?
People don't say that about every band.
No, they don't. But I'm saying that's what TTB is about. They're always saying, best I've ever seen them, the best, because they're always just honing their craft. It's just incredible.
And people are not hesitant to complain and say that they don't like something as much as they used to. So that's a real testament that you can keep a bunch of I don't know, that you can yield that sort of reaction that like the current one is the best one, the next one is the best one. I just saw the best one, best I've ever seen, all that stuff. Got Randy here. Feels so bad they won't cover the song unless they can do it better, in my opinion.
That feels so bad. That's a great one. Oh
There's
my
no
gosh.
song. There's no song they can't cover that I wouldn't, at the very least, appreciate what they were thinking when trying to do this. I'm sure it would be great, no matter what it is, no matter the artist. They would make, they make everything their own.
I love Gabe's vocals on the Allman Brothers. I think he just does a great job on the vocals. Obviously don't replace Kofi, but it did definitely add another vocalist in, and obviously he's done some incredible songwriting on I Am the Moon as well.
Sure.
So it's like I said, the next person that steps up, I don't know how. Derek and Susan do it. I don't know how, they always pluck the cherry, right, to come into the band. I don't know how they do it.
No, they're great. What else you want to talk about?
What do you have any concerts coming up? Anything on the TTB calendar? Or you
nothing on the TTB calendar, and I think I am going actually reggae night at the Hollywood Bowl. That might be the next show I go to. There's a bunch of local artists that I follow that do shows around town, and I'm always keeping an eye on things. That's kind of my vibe, is try to support the local, and then TTB. That's kind of for the most part, but we'll see.
Well, we should tell your listeners they should support the local music wherever you are. There are young people out there that are playing good music, and they definitely need our support. I mentioned Smith's Old Bar here in Atlanta. We've got the Northside Tavern. We've got Blind Willie's. So they're young people out there playing some pretty darn good music, and they definitely need our support. You get in for some are free during the weeknight, a $5 or $10 cover on the weekend. Get out and see some of your your local music. Support those people, because good music is hard to find these days. So I'm glad you're supporting it out there on the West Coast. We need that. Well, I know you've committed, so hopefully they're going to do that second Sun, Sand, and Soul down there in Florida. So you're on the hook if they do announce that. We gotta make sure you're there.
Yoga on the beach, am I doing and all that?
I don't know about that. As long as you're there for the music, that's the. I know they just announced another show down there. It's about the same time that the Sun, Sand, and Soul was last year. It was in early May, so might be a little bit different date this year. But they're claiming it's going to happen again. But I thought it was really cool. They announced that Topeka announced a new one, and it's all female artists.
In what genre?
You've got Melissa Etheridge, I think Larkin Poe. I'm not going to say Karina Reichman. But yeah, so it looked, pretty good.
I have not seen Larkin Poe. That would be an act I do want to. That's on my list. Slide guitar. Sound.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I do have to say they are from Georgia, but they moved. I think they moved to Nashville. But yeah, they are very very good. We're actually going to go see them. They're opening for somebody here in Atlanta, and we want to go see them. And Robert Randolph is opening as well. They're two of the bands, and I like both of them.
Yeah, him I've seen, I think, a couple of times. When is Larkin Poe going to be matched up with TTB to do some shows? That would be that would be something.
When they sent out a survey from Sun, Sand, and Soul, and you could put in, they said, who are a few bands you might like to see, on the bill, and I did plug them in. Someone I always love. I know they play with them a bunch, but Los Lobos, I think that's always a great marriage. And like you said, you got to see a couple of the guys sit in with them. I always think that's a great ham and egg.
No one's going to believe me, and they're going to say that I'm biased, but I do think Gabe Dixon Band was my favorite all-time opening act
Oh,
for
man.
for TTB. And I've seen Gary Clark and Sharon Jones and Doyle and who else have I seen open for TTB? Los Lobos and Little Feat. Like, these are all great acts. There's been, I've enjoyed pretty much all of the acts that TTB has played with, but I don't know. I think right up there is Gabe Dixon, him and his trio.
That trio is great. I totally agree. We actually, I think, saw him the first. It might have been the first time that that he opened for them was an outdoor show during COVID here in the Atlanta area, and I think that might have been the first time that he opened for them. And man, I agree. I thought it was awesome, and I guess I've seen him maybe 4 or 5 times open for him, and yeah, that's a great 3-piece. Love it.
Like, he could obviously, and has been and is a featured act in itself, and not just because he's a member of TTB. Is it cool to see him play music before TTB? But I felt like it really was a great warm up act. It really warmed up the audience in terms of just like feeling good, feeling the warm vibes, like just his music and his songwriting and his style. It's just like really warmed up the crowd, like in more ways than one, I think.
No, I totally agree. No, hey, he can open up for him anytime. I'm on board. I hear you 100%. Well, I'm bummed you don't have anything on the horizon there, but you never know. You never know. You could you didn't pick up and go to Phoenix. You were threatening to make a drive, but
or Santa Barbara.
So.
Neither was an evening with. Maybe that factored in a little bit. But no, I'm excited for to recap. Like, I'm gonna try to recap every show I can, for this tour. And doing the recaps does cure some of the FOMO or the fear of having missed out or whatever.
Yeah.
Randy wants me to go to Red Rocks here in the chat.
Yeah.
I'll start the GoFundMe, I need to start the Patreon. We can brainstorm what can I offer people that they would support a Patreon. Just, I don't know, maybe, I mean, people might support a few bucks just to support the podcast, but I guess offline content or something, or like I don't know. I'll think about it.
Yeah. Ann and I, we're going to Red Rocks for our first time. We've never been. So
everyone's going.
We're making that. We're doing it for the first time. So we're very excited to experience that. And we're told to bring all kinds of clothing. You never know what the weather's going to do. So we're going to be hopefully prepared, but we are so excited for our first experience at Red Rocks. That's going to be, I think that's going to be really cool. So who's going to be your next TTB member to hop on your podcast?
That's a good question. We're going to find out. Stay tuned. We're trying. We're working on it for sure. I was going to mention a couple other highlights, actually.
Yes, please.
And this is something I've talked about before, but the B.B. King tribute show at the Grammys Museum in 2016, after he had passed. I went to that. That was super amazing. Somehow I emailed anyone and everyone I could find trying to scramble for a ticket to that. Like, I think after it had sold out, or I don't even know what the ticket situation remember it was, but I remember I somehow squirmed my way into that. And it was the house band was headed up by what's his name from Conan, Jimmy Vivino, who's played with TTB before. I think he's played with them in LA at the Orpheum and whatnot over the years. But with Quinn Sullivan and Joe Bonamassa and Keb Mo, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Jimmy Vaughn, and Slash came out also. That was super amazing. Just watch the dynamic between Slash and Susan and Derek, like, and that was just amazing. I couldn't believe I was there, and in the front too. So that was a special one for me, and I almost missed it too. I was like running late and not knowing where to park and sweating, running up to the steps to the venue, and literally I sat down in my seat and and then Derek and Susan were walking on the stage, and I'm like, damn, that was good time, and that was a special night. That was super cool. I saw them at Jimmy Kimmel also. It's fun to see them in these different forums, I guess, and shows and outside.
That was outside, right? They did it outside,
right? The
somewhere?
summer concert series, and they played When Will It Begin, Shame, the TV version, Signs, Hard Case, I Want More. I have the set written down here. I was right in the front, up against the barricade for that, basically. So, pit seats.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, go on.
I think I got to see that on TV, right? So I think
right.
I saw that on TV.
I think they played Shame, TV version of Shame. But no, I've seen them in a handful of places. Orpheum Theater in LA and Greek Theater, maybe. Orpheum LA, they played a bunch of times. And obviously, I've been to a bunch of Beacon shows at this point. So here we are.
Yeah, well, it's been a great ride. We're excited. I'm glad they added the Fox there. I thought maybe they were going to skip Atlanta this year. I was getting worried about that. But
yeah, that's not like the 8th biggest city in the country.
I don't know. But
maybe that's
we were talking about, but they do have a lot of ties. Again, Colonel Bruce, is a big tie with them and everything. So
yeah, he named Falcon from what I gather from. I got the information, and let's just say I've cited multiple sources at this point that it was basically Colonel Bruce giving Falcon the name Falcon.
Yeah, I had actually never seen Colonel Bruce play until the night he passed away. I was at that show, and I was asking you about going to some shows with your dad, because I've been able to go to a few with my son, and it's kind of a cool experience. And I happened to be with my son at Colonel Bruce's 70th birthday party, where Derek and Susan played, and Warren. I mean, all those people were up on stage, and I guess he had a heart attack right on stage during the encore. I mean,
that's insane.
It was, yeah. I don't know. Some people said he just planned it or something. I don't know. That's just crazy. I don't know. But that was the first and only time I'd ever seen Colonel Bruce play live, and
that's wild.
He was amazing, and the respect that he had from all the musicians that were on stage that all had some tie to him. It was incredible. I mean, it was a who's who. It was incredible. All the people that that he had an effect on, just incredible. So I know the Fox does hold a special spot for them, for multiple reasons, but that's certainly one of them. But for a long time, they were playing outdoor venues and other things in Atlanta. So it was just, over the last maybe 5 years, I think right before the pandemic, they started playing the Fox. They were playing other venues here in Atlanta. So they jumped in there. And I think that's probably as big a, theater. I'm not sure if there's any theaters that are holding more than 5,000. So it's a pretty big, venue. I know they're trying to, play a little bit bigger places, and certainly understand and respect that. Well, what do you see coming up going forward for the band, the podcast? Anything you want to plug besides your podcast?
Just go to adamchoit.com. You can find and follow me and other things I'm working on. And I have another podcast called People We Love. And what I do with that one is interview people from all walks of life, most often comedians, other entertainment types, and just a casual conversation about people's lives and careers. And I ask them to talk about who inspired them. So that's been a fun journey. I would just say go to adamchoit.com or follow me on Twitter or Instagram at adamchoit, or find me on Facebook, which a lot of you do. That's a big TTB hub, of course. Atlanta's the 37th biggest city in the country, I think, by population. I was not even close.
Yeah, what'd you say? 37th, huh?
11th or something. But maybe I did say 8th. But I don't know. Maybe if you're taking the regional, maybe that changes things. Probably not. But yeah, these cities that on the list look more populated. But in terms of what's coming up for the podcast and what's coming up for me, I'm just trying to keep up with the band, really. Like Susan just put out, you know, the Fender guitar. Congratulations to her.
Huh?
Available for sale now. Like I was saying that this.
So did you see the price tag? Can you jump on one of those? You see the price tag on that?
That's what I tweeted. I said, "Who wants to buy me one?
Yeah,
$18.90 or whatever it is." Yeah, I mean, it's serious Fender Telly. You're getting a Susan Tedeschi guitar. So there, you know, there's that. They just went to that Bob Dylan museum, and you know, touring's gonna be picking up in, you know, late July. So I guess I do have some time off, but I'm cooking up some interviews and some other things and whatnot. And I feel like the band is always going to be, I don't think the band is going completely dark for the next 6 weeks. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
Someone was asking about that. Like, are they going to make an announcement for an album or something? I don't know, but like, I feel like if they're not touring, there's going to be, I think there'll be some amount of communication and something that the band will be sharing with the fans before Colorado shows at the end of July. Well,
do they have is their son getting married at some point? Is that later in the year or something?
I'm not sure. Yeah, that could be.
There was something. So I think they've got, like you said, 6 weeks now, and then I think they've got like a 4 or 6 week slot later in the year. I don't know if one of them is in there. What I always see a big break, as we talked about before, you know, maybe a third of the band or more lives in the Atlanta area. So I'm always looking for, you know, something local, whether Brandon or Falcon or Mike, Mark, you know, might show up somewhere. Kebby, you know, always looking for something local, you know, to
fans are on top of it here. September.
Here we go. September. So that must be a break in
wedding,
there,
I suppose. But yeah, no, I don't doubt that they have personal lives and other engagements and things like that and whatnot. But I don't know. I'm just saying I'm guessing that they'll be posting something. There'll be some news or some music to be shared or something that I'll be talking about for the next 6 weeks beyond just doing, you know, a few interviews with some various people. We'll see.
Nice. Well, before we go, anybody, I know we've got a few people on the chat and everything. If you got a question for Adam or something, type it in. Let's, you know, ask Adam, you know, something. I'm sure I've missed a lot of good stuff. So if anybody's got a good question for Adam, type it in. In the meantime, I wanted to mention, you talked about, you know, they played with Chris Stapleton the other night, and they did that song, and boy, did Susan kill the vocals on that. Was that, I mean, incredible. So when you guys were talking about it, I went back because I am not a Chris Stapleton fan by any stretch of the imagination. But I went through and I was looking at his set list. That song had not been played anywhere. So it must have been kind of selected. You know, we were talking about, you know, did Derek and Susan have something to do with it or how? But that was not something he's been playing on the tour. So those people got a special, you know, a special song that night that hadn't been played. So I don't know if the Chris Stapleton, you know, I guess they might have known, you know, that was some sort of treat.
Yeah, I was wrong is the name of the song, and I have not gone back and listened to this Chris Stapleton version yet. But from what I think Jeff Fink was saying in the last episode, what we deduced is that basically it's a blues song, and like that they probably put the three of their heads together and said, let's do a blues song. So it's like, you know, they dug one up, and I think TTB has done that also. They will maybe dig up one of their, like whenever you hear Derek and playing with a guest, or when they're with a guest or a guest is with them, there's a method to the madness. And I see, like, you see the thought process behind the song choices is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So it just was interesting to see, you know, I thought, oh, well, here's what we're playing in our set. You know, which song would you fit in with? But it was more of, hey, this, you know, so again, who knows? Did they practice it the day before? You know, how much rehearsal went into it? But boy, it sounded great. I mean, it was. I've listened to that a handful of times already. So keep going back to that.
What's funny is that I feel like I'm trying to think of what else do I want to share, like randomly about my TTB fandom or experiences or my musical life or journey, as if I don't have a podcast where I can put out an infinite number of episodes anytime I want about anything, or just say anything I want into this mic and record it and share it. But I'm like, what else can I talk about with Tedeschi Trucks, as if I hadn't already put out 158 episodes and talked about it and haven't talked to you for the last hour and 14 minutes. But I feel like I'm almost like forgetting something, but not really. Trumpet, guitar, and college, and TTB, and the shows, and the music, and the band, and as people and crew. And I think they like me because some of them mess with me a little bit. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, that's a show of love for sure. Well, you've got, I mean,
so.
but you've met all of them, right? I mean, you've at least interacted.
Right. Yeah. Even if it's just saying great show and good job, or shaking your hands, or a one photo, and since my, whatever, like, yeah, pretty much. I have no complaints about that, at all.
And their crew is great. I know you get to interact with some of the crew. I mean, you've mentioned that, and guests. I mean, their crew is awesome.
Bobby, of course, has been on.
Yeah.
Bobby T's.
Yeah, I mean, they're just terrific. I guess they hired a new guitar tech for Derek, and Bobby is no longer wearing, I guess, two hats or something. I guess I don't know if you know anything about that.
No, I guess I'm not sure, but yeah.
Seen a new guy handling the guitars, just on the videos and stuff.
Derek sounds good.
Oh,
sounds good to me.
Always. The sound. Well, that's Bobby, right? I mean, Bobby's working amazing. He always sounds great,
Yeah. Whatever they need to do to keep delivering this great music to us, I support that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes, but I will certainly be around if we I'm sure you'll find some others to talk about Red Rocks, but like I said, we're excited to be going for the first time. So excited, and hopefully we have good weather. I know it's iffy. So we'll
I want to get, I want to get let's get like 9 people on from Red Rocks or something. I want to do like a big panel where I literally don't have to say, although they're probably going to stream it. So I'll be in the know.
You'll be able to recap it yourself. You'll feel like you were there, right?
Yeah, I don't even need you guys for that. I did recaps of the Fireside series, and some of that stuff. That was fun too. There's something fun about watching those premieres and whatnot. Yeah, the live TV experience is fun when we're all kind of experiencing it.
Yeah. That was
too.
The Fireside sessions when they were letting them out, and everybody in the country's watching the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, and that was very emotional.
Yeah,
those.
Oh my God, that was so needed, right? I mean, boy, did we need that. And to hear some of the things they debuted through that, like we got Passaquan, right?
Right.
And I thought it was interesting that Derek played his gold top on that version. That was his gold top, I guess, from their farm or ranch, whatever you call it there, that he played on that. Because I go back and listen to that, and it was, again, the infancy of that and what it's become, right, on stage. I mean, I think that if you go back, maybe it was 8 minutes, something like that. 8-9 minutes was the original on the Fireside version, and now it's what, 20 plus minutes
sometimes. And I think it's, what is it, 11? It's 12 on the album.
Is that what it is? Yeah,
I think so. I listened to that one a fair amount, actually. Sometimes I want my 20-minute Passaquan. Sometimes I need my 12-minute Passaquan.
Yeah,
it's all good stuff.
Good.
Anything else we need to discuss or cover? Or I'm asking myself, what else?
Yeah.
Anything else I want to talk about?
Thanks for letting me do this, Adam. I appreciate it. I know you talk plenty during it, but you're always letting everybody else speak and so forth. And just thought it'd be, nice for everybody to get to hear more of you.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was pretty painless.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have even more respect for you now, because it's much easier being a guest on your show than certainly trying to host it and be so unprofessional, unlike you. I mean, it's you really.
I
mean, you hear
appreciate
it every
that.
time for your guests. You hear it every time. I always hear it at the end of the show. You do a tremendous job. And again, as Mariah said, you've just brought so many people together, based upon their love for one band and some beautiful music.
Yeah, I want to keep bringing more together. I'm forget. It's like I've met a lot of people, I guess is what I'm trying to spit out. And that's been super cool. And I do like continuing to meet like new, new people, new guests, new fans and all that. Like I'll continue to harass everyone. I'll choose a different word when I describe the process.
Well, you do. I mean, again, it's not easy. I mean, I know a lot of people, they just say, I'm not comfortable talking about it.
Oh, I totally
huge
understand
fans.
that.
They're huge
I totally
fans.
get that. I understand that.
And one-on-one, they'll talk your ear off, right? And I mean, they'll talk TTB till the cows come home, but they don't want to, getting on. I don't know, gets.
Let alone on a live stream.
Yeah, I thought I was good the first time when we talked on whatever it was, episode 4 that I did with you, and I was telling Ann, I was like, man, I'm scared to death. I don't know how I don't know if I can talk about this stuff or whatever. And you made it so easy, and just you start talking about the band, and it just So if you're hesitant to come on Adam's show, it's really he makes it easy, and what's more fun than talking about TTB and the experience?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate all that, and I follow what you're saying, and when you're passionate about something, it does make it easier to talk about it for sure. And I keep saying it, like the crew, the band, the fans, we all kind of speak in the same tone and language, and passion, it's like the same amount. It's like, and even I always talk about how the fans, like whether you've been a fan for like 3 years or 20 years or since Derek was 13 years old, like we all kind of speak with the same amount of passion and enthusiasm for the music and respect for it, and then acknowledgement of how awesome they are at what they do.
Yeah, whether you've had the passion for 6 months or 6 years, you still have the passion, right? And you feel it from the fans,
Whether you're in the band or whether you're in the last row of the venue.
Yeah,
too.
Everybody
Cool.
loves it.
Good stuff. Should I boot you out and do my intro and cook dinner?
Yes. Thanks so much, Adam.
Oh, thank you. Take it easy, my friend. Cheers.
Peace.
So there you go, episode 159 with David Flamm interviewing me. That was fun. That kind of ended up being what I kind of was predicting or saying. Kind of a condensed version of kind of a lot of things that I've mentioned over the years, but getting it all into one place. So I hope people enjoy that and got something out of it, and it was a good chance for me to have fun hanging out with David and reliving and recapping some of my favorite memories over the year. That BB King tribute show, that was special. It's almost like it's a road game. You're seeing Derek and Susan like in a different context. It's kind of fun. But I hope everyone's doing okay out there. At Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. I'll put out an audio version of this one. Positive reviews on Apple Podcasts are appreciated. Please subscribe on YouTube as well. Follow me at Adam Choit, adamchoit.com, Tedeschi Trucks Podcast.com for all things related to the show. Those sites both forward to a link tree with all relevant links. TedeschiTrucksBand.com. Buy merch, buy tickets to shows, support the band. But I think that's about all I got for today. Thank you to David, to the band, to the crew, to the fans, to everyone who supports me and this show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'll be cooking up some more stuff soon. So let's talk soon. Peace.